That's all our PCCEP members here for now. Out of the 4 members of this subcommittee, 1 cannot attend, and then we're expecting Leslie at 6:30. So we will see Leslie here in a bit. And so at this time we can have introductions from pretty much everyone else here. Community members, since we have this space, will also invite you to introduce yourselves in the video if you would like. Or in the meeting. So I'll go first. I'm Dory Grabinski, PCCEP Project Manager. And just feel free to jump in.
I'll jump in really fast. I am Teresa Alonso Leon. I'm one of the facilitators here today. And I also want to shout out to all of the interpreters who are here working really hard.
I am Michael Johnson. I'm with Take 3 Outreach and just a community member. I was invited by Lori Palmer, and so I'm just getting to know what's going on in our community and being informed. And I got a relationship with their Pastor Weisner, which I saw you last night. Didn't know that you were part of this, and so I'm honored to see a face that I know, and I look forward to listen and learn and see how things are moving and where I can contribute at.
We're glad to have you, Michael. I know I can say that in the front of everybody here. And yes, Michael Johnson is also here, a part of the club that we all wish we wasn't a part of. It wasn't that long ago, he lost his son in a shooting here in the city. But we're glad, as he has already said, he has been involved in his community, and we have worked together alongside spiritually, as well as representing the African American communities and people who are less likely to commit or have been in harm's way. So it's really good to see him here tonight, and hopefully we can get your participation in PCCEP.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Samir, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Samir Kanal. I am the Advisory Boards and Commissions Manager for the Community Safety Division, and that's in the Advisory Boards and Commissions unit, which is where PCCEP is administratively housed. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Awesome. What about you, Barbara? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Barbara Boshinsky from Portland Cop Watch, she, her. Nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. LaFonda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sorry, you guys, I'm having a problem with my camera. LaFonda Grant from Women's First Referral and Transition Center. Whoop, whoop, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. What about Barb Rainish?
Hello, my name is Barb Rainish. I use she, her pronouns, and I am firstly a member of the community, secondly a member of the Behavioral Health Unit Advisory Committee, and finally a PCCEP groupie for the last several years.
Wonderful, thank you so much. With the exception of our interpreters, I think everybody has gone, Dory.
Yeah, so we can have the slides back, please. And Pastor Weisner, would you read our community agreements?
Happily. Thank you very much. Our community agreement, listen actively and respectfully, please. Share airtime, please. Be present and open to new information and perspective, please. Assume positive intent, please. Respect each other, please. Respect the group, please. Speak your own truth, please. Communicate directly, honestly, and respectfully, please. Ask questions for clarity, please. Call out bias. Oh, be okay with ambiguity. Thank you so much.
Nice. And Afrida, or sorry, I'm so sorry, Teresa, can you go over this slide real quick?
Gladly. Discussion guidelines. Be brief. Anyone can speak multiple times, but should take no more than 2 minutes each time they speak. Our second facilitator, if we had a second one, will help everyone stick to the time so more people have an opportunity to speak. In this case, it would be me. Be facilitated. Raise hands on Zoom and allow the facilitator to call on people in a way that promotes conversation, keep things moving, and allows everyone to speak. Please raise your hand every time you wish to speak. This applies to when you'd like to respond to something after you've already been called on earlier. Be constructive. Look forward and discuss how to make the committee's work more successful in the future on each question.
All right, and Ashley, you want to take this?
Sure. Yeah, this is just the agenda for tonight. So as we finish up updates here with Dory and the co-chairs here, we'll move into the community spotlight where we'll have LaFonda kind of give us an overview of the organization. And then yeah, it looks like we'll take a break and then we'll come back. We're going to have a discussion about the open current or the current contact survey recommendation that PCCEP has drafted. And yeah, so we're running it through the couple, phases of open conversation so we can get to a place to possibly vote for it. So, and then of course we'll have open comment on that later.
All right, so jumping right into updates. So briefly, I don't think we have a slide for this, but I will mention we successfully appointed 4 PCCEP members and we'll be holding orientation part 1 this Saturday. And then there will be follow-up training sometime in the next couple of months. We will have sort of orientation part 2 to sort of check in, and then also that's when we will try to bring in the amici in that process to just keep everyone informed about our process there. All right, so and Ashley and Tia, feel free to jump in on this as well, but we just wanted to maintain some continuity and reporting out about the ongoing work of the subcommittee. So there is work being done around planning a community education event around the PPV stops data and perhaps some information or education about consent searches. And the idea discussed there was that event might take place out in the East Precinct area. So hoping to get that going. 2 of our members in particular, Tia and Byron, have been working really hard on planning brain injury and community safety forum. And then lastly, just wanted to let our members know that the COCL, who does the compliance monitoring for the settlement agreement, they have reached out about having a meeting with PCCEP to get some ideas about how they can improve community engagement around the quarterly reports that they present and the town halls they have around them. So that hasn't been scheduled yet, but flagging that for you so you members can start thinking about it. And also community members, I know many of you have attended those town halls over the year with COCL. If you have ideas about how to make that information more engaging and accessible, please send them PCCEP's way, and we'll put our email address in the chat. Okay, that's all we have for updates, unless I missed anything.
Did you want me to give any details about the brain injury forum or no?
If you feel like there's anything relevant at present.
Okay, I'll just say a few more things about it. Byron, the chairperson of the settlement agreement and policy, brought this up when we were brainstorming ideas for keeping active with community engagement and outreach. After hearing about brain injuries from the Brain Injury Connection Program and policing. We're putting together a forum on a Wednesday night in April, looking at community organizations to hold our venue and about 8 different panel members. So we're super excited and doing some outreach to get that put together. And I'm also in the high schools, working on getting into some of the different clubs and groups and organizations in the high schools to listen to youth voices around policing. So we're both working on a couple of different things to get in the community a little bit more in regards to police and our organization. Thank you so much. That was all. Thank you. Oh, I see Barb has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. I'm so glad you guys are putting events together. I'm wondering who the audience is for the brain injury forum. I'm wondering if you're planning to use it to educate police officers on the subject, or if it's just a community event and education event.
We are doing, we are trying to create space for the Portland Police Bureau to hear and learn about how to interact better with people with brain injuries, as well as perspective sharing with different mental health organizations, and brain injury and domestic violence organizations. So it will be a variety of organizations and the Police Bureau to learn and educate, as well as to perspective sharing.
Thanks, Tia. It looks like Ashley has a question also, or a comment.
Yeah, Tia, I just wanted to share, it was kind of an idea I had today and I just haven't had a chance to share it with you over email, but share it here. I've recently connected with, so I live out here in Southwest Portland, and I went to a community equity council meeting at the Ida B. Wells High School, which is a parent group, that's coordinated by the principal there to, yeah, how do we support the equity efforts within the high school and the parent group. And anyways, I think there'd just be kind of an opening there. So I wanted to just say that out loud so that we can talk about it later about maybe going to one of those meetings or reaching out to that group and getting some connection, because they're really connected to the youth groups that are at the high school, which are a ton. I had no idea how many, different, cool resource groups that high schoolers have. It's really exciting. So I feel like there's a segue there. So just wanted to put that out in the ether.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I think we are ready to transition to our next item, the community spotlight, and I believe Tia is introducing this one.
Yes. Sorry, I'm getting my notes out. I wish you could see me. Just real quick, I wanted to say at every community engagement subcommittee meeting, we are bringing in a local organization to present a little about themselves, so that we all can learn from each other and to see how we can connect and help their organization with the different work that we're doing as part of our engagement and outreach. And any organizations here tonight, if you're interested in being part of the community spotlight, please contact Ashley or myself or the PCCEP email, and I'll put that in the chat and we'll get you scheduled. Tonight we have LaFonda Grant from Women First, and and LaFonda, I think your title is Family Resource Navigator.
Yes.
Yes. And so LaFonda, take it away.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Grant. I'm new. Whoop, whoop. I'm the Family Resource Navigator at Women's First Referral and Transitional Center. Women's First is a grassroots organization that provides a nourishing environment where women can rebuild their lives through peer mentorship, training, and workshops such as life skills, financial literacy, nutrition, parenting, ready to rent, know your rights, trauma informed healing, and our phenomenal empowerment I Love Me classes, and with community support. We our main focus is African American women, but we welcome all women that are seeking transformations in their lives. We serve women transitioning from prison, coming out of incarceration, and that's in recovery, domestic violence, probation and parole, that's homeless, or experiencing some kind of trauma in their life. We also have a drop-in center from 10 to 4 where they could come in and take showers. We have a laundry facility, Wi-Fi, a clothes closet, or they could just come in and relax and have a bite to eat or just get away, just need that quiet time. They could come there and do that also. We have a resource center, me, woo woo, I'm excited. Giving out resources and referrals to other partners in our community. And we have a computer room where they could come in and do things if they need to get on the computer. And I can help them navigate even for employment and things like that, or sign up for the organ health plan. And we have a re-entry housing program that called Navigating Back Home, and it consists of 7 beds. 3 beds are for recovery, 3 beds are for the re-entry program, and we have 1 for the domestic violence or emergency shelter. I love this program. I've been on the board of this program for 5 years, and before that, I volunteered when she first had this vision, Shannon Olive, and since it's taken off, I'm watching it grow, and it's a beautiful, beautiful organization to help women transfer their lives and get back to life, get the self-esteem back, feel good about yourself. And a lot of goes to prisons or incarceration. They burn bridges. We try to bring the families back together. And one of our main positive, we have a positive self-statement, and it's I am somebody. I love this. I do love myself. I will work hard to better me, to help someone else. Women's first. Woohoo! I love it. So it's an awesome program. Our classes for this month, we're doing we have our financial literacy class and our skills for life class, which are really awesome. Plus, we're doing what's it called, trunk or treats for Halloween for the kids. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So, we really want to get word out to our community about us and try to help as many people as we can. And I'm so happy to be here to meet you wonderful faces.
Thank you,
Thank you.
LaFonda.
Thank you.
Let's see. What are some ways do you think that PCCEP can support your work and the communities that you engage with?
By getting letting people know about the classes that we have, about our drop-in center, and about the events and things that we're doing.
May I? Hands up.
Yes.
I have a hand up.
Go
Tia?
ahead.
Tris.
Go ahead.
I know that Shannon Oliver has, and I'm sure Michael knows that well. We have been working with Shannon since high school. And this vision that the question was asked, how is PCCEP to be able to help engage? This comes from a place of where people are really in areas of recovering from trauma. And in the recovery of trauma, it takes us, just like what we're doing here with PCCEP, is inform people. wherever we go, we meet people, our neighbors, and have clothing that we can donate, money, time. The holidays are coming up, but it's always good to be able to engage with people who have a vision. With this vision I've known for many a years. And I just will say to everyone, if you have not heard or have not been involved, one of the questions was, how do PCCEP come along and get into the community? I would think that volunteering and coming out and actually seeing the work will be that part that you can begin to understand all the efforts of what has been a dream at this point. And thank you, LaJuan, for being here and doing a great job.
I just want to say thank you for adding that on for me, because we're also doing a clothes and scarf and glove drive, because we go out into the community to feed the homeless and and pass out coats and things. So if you know somebody that's got extra coat, they can drop them off at Women's First over 214th and Start. And we're also doing a Christmas drive for families, that needs help with Christmas. And we're also, taking donations for that also.
Thank you, LaFonda. Ashley, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, hi, thank you. Yeah, wow, LaFonda, thank you so much for being here and all the work you're doing. It's so amazing to hear other organizations out there really doing the work. And just so we're so lucky to have you in our community. So thank you, and thanks for being here tonight. And I just was wanting to ask kind of the question, because the PCCEP is here as sort of an arms, sort of a window for the public to be connected to what's going on with the Portland Police Bureau, and not only the settlement, but policies that affect the community. And so, yeah, I'm just curious what your organization's relationship has been with PPB, and if there is one, and if there's a want for one, and just curious about that relationship, if you had any thoughts on that.
Okay, right now, PPB is Portland Public Schools, right?
Sorry, no,
Police.
it's Portland
That's the
Police Bureau.
Okay, my
Yeah.
brain, I have to think of so many
PBS is Portland.
different, all these different abbreviations of everything.
A lot going on.
Process.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a lot of affiliation with them, so but we are trying to get more involved on that end in certain areas. Like we've met with Mike Schmidt. He came out. I'm so glad I voted for him, because he's been really in the community, and I am proud of him. And we reached out far as, we go into the women's prison, and we do Inverness for women, Inverness too, where with the prison, they come in, they get a mentor, the ones who sign up 6 months prior to their release. So the mentor and the customer or participant can get to know each other and make out goals, what they would like to do. The mentor picks them up at the front gate, take them around, and do everything necessary to help them to get on their feet, just to make that transition and load a little lighter, and help them through their process of meeting their PO or doing any other things that the probation officer has for them, or parole officer has for them to do, and then participate in our classes and events also. But with the retention, with the reentry house, whenever they're done with everything they have to do with their probation officer, and they get a job and they go through their steps, they can stay there at that house for 2 years, up to 2 years, just to better themselves, to get on their feet. And they take 30% of their income that they make, put it off to the side. And we've had a lot of good graduates that came from there and have their own place, and they were so excited. They have saved up, like $5,000 and $7,000 so they can redo their place. It's a real good feeling to see people succeed, and it's so awesome. And I say, one is better than none. I love it. No matter how many people I might refer to detox or to a program, that one person that gets there and do the program, oh, it's so awesome. And it feels so good because there is people out there that really would like to help, but they don't know the resources. They don't know what's out there. And it's sad when they find out when it's after the fact. I like to get it out there before the fact so people can know about it. If I could walk around with a bullhorn, I would. I would be up and down the streets telling everybody, resources, resources. I would. Boy.
We need that. We need somebody like
Yes,
that
and
for
I
sure.
have no problem going to the stores, going everywhere, to help our people, get our community back. We need it back.
Do you think, just to follow up on my question, do you think though that if there was an inroad somehow that PPB officers, at all levels at PPB could benefit from hearing some of the stories that you've observed and seen and experienced with the program? Do you think that could help with that connection of getting the word out of what kind of resources you have available for those who need it, just need some extra, and like, could PPB be an arm for that? Just curious how you guys feel about that.
I would say yes, for an extent, because a lot of the women that we deal with are traumatized, are coming out of prison or coming from jail. And maybe the success stories, will probably work, but as they're coming into for this transformation, it might not be real good to have that police contact. You see what I'm saying? We want to empower them to get them up on their feet and make them stronger. And then, maybe in the future, we're going to speak to Shannon, and see what she think about it, but not for the beginning right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Thank you. Go ahead, Ashley. Looks like you wanted to do a closing remark.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. That makes sense. And yeah, thank you so much for answering my questions and for being here tonight.
Thanks for asking.
We have Dory next, who would like to ask a question or make a comment.
Yeah, I do have a question and maybe some additional clarification about PCCEP. I did also want to note, I think I may have seen Michael's hand in real life. So, okay, so we'll definitely go to you next. So PCCEP, what we kind of do, we do a lot of things, but some of what we do is we work on trying to improve community relationships between the Portland Police Bureau and communities, but a big focus often tends to be on the community side, where we want to give community members an opportunity to express the way policing has impacted them in different ways. And then we kind of serve as a middle ground where we can filter that back up to them and sort of do policy work around that or make recommendations, that sort of thing. So we can be available to you as a resource if the communities you serve maybe have noticed certain patterns in policing or have certain experiences that they want to communicate. And something we try to do is highlight those voices and partner with community organizations so we can report that back and help improve the system. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about our role and how we fit into that system to maybe help generate some ideas, because your work sounds so inspiring and incredible, and I have no doubt that there are probably so many ideas and experiences that would be very rich for us to kind of talk more to you about. And I also want to be clear that engaging for PCCEP to engage with communities does not mean PPB engaging. It just means PCCEP. So we are independent from the Police Bureau.
Thank you, Dory. LaFonda, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I really do like that idea of, the community coming together and about, talking about the police. And I will speak to Shannon about it. And I gotta make sure. What is your name?
I'm Dory Grabinski. I'm the PCCEP project manager. I can put my name and email in the chat for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm new at this. Well,
You're good.
I've done it all my life. Just didn't know I could get paid to do it.
Well, I'm glad you're getting paid now, LaFonda. You're
Yes.
so striking. Michael, my apologies. I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead. You're next, and then we'll go to Pastor Weisner.
All right. Kind of just, I'm gonna go from what was last spoken back to the question I have for LaFonda, but I just kind of want to jump on the answer that she gave you about having Portland police and me seeing some of the folks that just come out. One of the things I kind of want to explain is that they just came out of a place where they've had police in their face all day, every day when they're coming out of prison. And so there is that traumatized where how they end up in prison. It was the police involvement, and then having police in their present constantly involvement, and then coming out and then want to speak to the police. That's not a good idea because they, one, haven't got back on their feet or in the place where they can really represent themselves in speaking towards the ills or the good things about the police. And so I wouldn't recommend that part. Now, like she said, for those who have graduated, that would be great to hear their stories. I mean, we would all love to hear that story, so I just kind of wanted to throw in on that piece. As for LaFonda, thank you for representing the Women's Life organization well. I was sitting here taking notes, and I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. And one of the things about Take 3 Outreach is Take 3 stands for Take 3 as an organization, the client, and then other organizations. So then that way, we offer wraparound services. And so how we do that is we partner up with people who are actually doing the work. Because, and not only that, is that when we refer a client to those other agencies, we actually still stay involved and make sure that we facilitate. Sometimes folks just doesn't communicate well. And that's why we have translators and folks in those positions, is to make sure the communication is done well. And so what happens is we make sure that they don't fall in the holes and fall off once the referral is made. We make sure that we try to provide everything and anything to make sure each organization is represented well, and so is the client, and which is most important. And so we professionalize in partnership with the Ground Roots organizations. That's one of our great things about it. And that's why I'm here today, is to see what's going on, who's doing what, so I can come along and fill in these gaps, because they're very important. And then I wish you had more beds, because that is so powerful right there for the for both the reentry and the rehab part of it. And you offer so much. Can I get a phone number and an address to go along with this information in the chat? And I will definitely copy it. And that's my questions.
Thank you, Michael. LaFonda, any comments?
No, he hit the bing right on the head. That is so true about the police contact, but it'd be so awesome for the graduates or for the ones who is ready or feel comfortable doing that, and I believe the address is already in the chat. Someone put it in there for me already. Yeah, Ashley did. Thank you, Ashley. Yes.
Thank you, LaFonda. Pastor Weisner, you have another comment or question?
Comment, and I cannot follow behind great voices that we're hearing tonight, and each one is very much in sync of where I was trying to get to when I lifted my hand. Michael captured it very well. Ashley, of course, inquiring to see where what we do at PCCEP, along with Dory explaining the position of PCCEP. Because I'm so close to everything in this community, I would reverse the question: is what PCCEP can do for the organization? Because everything is not about bad policing. Our community deals with so much trauma and support needed in every area of areas of where that they recover from. I work with the 819 legislative reentries, as well as what Mike is doing with wraparound services in our community. These places that people are in is hard to be able to say what's wrong when they have so many things that they're looking for. And the first thing is when they, again, with the services that I know of what Shannon created in the concept of these women, is where, and hopefully this is the bigger part of it, is there is a narrative, even for myself, that I hear his experience, and it's always his experience. Somehow we tend to forget about the wholeness or the wellness of the nurturer, the mother, the woman who comes back, and if she's broken, so many other things are broken. And then to be able to restore them back into a place of, with the families, with the relationship, but most importantly with themselves. This is what this service and this organization works strong on, is building them back to that place where that they felt that there is a place to be needing to be lifted back up. And I'm not a woman, so I can't tell you how it feels when you're there, but as a person that loves life and the people in these working groups that I have learned from, I can tell you that we are, as everyone has always heard me say, we are one. We need one another. And I believe that's why she's here tonight, because she's saying, we need you. We need you. As well as thanking us. And I know this without even having to say it, LaFont, you thank us for being the watchkeepers to make sure at PCCEP that we're in areas of keeping those who come home in that area of good interactions for that. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you, Pastor Weisner. I don't see other hands raised for additional comments or questions. LaFonda, do you have any closing remarks for your presentation? And it looks like Tia might have left already. No, she's still here. Tia, do you have any closing remarks also?
Before we moved on, I was going to ask if anyone else in the group had any other questions for LaFonda, but it sounded like that already happened. So no, I can't think of anything else except to thank you, LaFonda, for your time and appreciate you being here to describe your organization and to connect with us. And I hope we can continue to stay connected.
Most definitely. You know we're going to stay connected.
Yes, we will. I know where you are. Yes.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. And
I have a closing question for LaFonda. Sorry, Tia, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
LaFonda, I was wondering if you could speak briefly and kind of picking up on some of Michael's comments as well. Just speak a little bit about the ways that you've observed the populations you serve are impacted by policing in Portland, whether it's before, before they reach you or currently, or anything that we might be able to learn from you with regards to the subject that we work on.
Okay, well, I would say, depending on the situation of the person, the way the contact they have, just like Pastor said, the women in prison, they're around police all the time. So depending on their experience or their trauma, I would say it would just really depend on the person, because there's a lot of great police out there too, and there's a lot of good things. I think the police needs to be more involved in the community. I don't understand why Washington, they have so much good sheriff events and things they do with kids and the people and the ride-alongs. I think that we need to get that over here and start doing that. So the community can get to know the officers, and the officers can get to know the people and not as criminals. You see what I'm saying? Because just because someone made a mistake in their life doesn't mean they're not a good person.
Well said, LaFonda. Michael, I saw your hand raised. Your physical hand, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I can kind of answer to what she was asking. One thing about the Portland Police and how you can a lot of times a lot of the women's before they get into some of these programs, they go back to hanging around some of the shady characters. And so when they get around some of the shady characters, they tend to get pulled over and then identify. And so sometimes what the department will do is associate them with the shady character when they're just looking for a ride along. They're not trying to be part of any of the activities to get them back in prison or anything. And so, who wouldn't want a ride? But sometimes their decision about who they get a ride from, it's not always the best. But then you don't want the police bureau to turn around and not hear their story and just say, because you're with this person, I'm gonna judge you too like that. When it can be, if they do just a little bit more asking questions and trying to really speak to that woman in the car, they'll find out that they have nothing to do with it other than just a ride. And they can back it up by saying they just got out of prison and what they're trying to do. And then they don't have the look, because when you're out of prison, there's a certain look that comes with you. There's a certain glow because you've been fed, you've been eating, you have that freedom glow. And some officers recognize it, some don't. But then, the ones that treat it as normal, or where our environment is right now, they just get judged wrong until you actually have a conversation with them. And it's easy to tell. It's not hard. The police bureau been doing, most of the guys have been there quite a while, so they know what it looks like. They know how it sounds, and they could just do a little bit more compassionate work in that area when it comes to the women. So then that way, they don't feel discouraged in any kind of way. And so that's my piece.
I just want to piggyback off of that.
Really
Profiling is horrible. I've been profiled and I haven't been in trouble in over 30 years. I went to Lloyd Center before it closed, and I guess they had a big sting at Lloyd Center. And I bought me some boots from a store, and I left, me and my husband, and we was leaving. They pulled me over 2 blocks away. I was crushed to say, "Oh, you was just over at Lloyd Center, and we like to see your receipts." I told them, "Hell no, you ain't seeing my receipts." I said, "You are just actually facial profiling me. I live like 4 blocks away from the mall, and you pull me over, and then here it is, 4 other police cars for little old me." That needs to be really addressed.
Thank you, LaFonda. I'd like to ask just a brief question in respect to the trauma that a lot of the women that you are working with, and thank you, by the way. Where do you get resources for mental health? Do you partner with the Oregon Health Authority, or what does that look like?
Well, I know we're with the Burn Project, so we have that umbrella, and I'm learning more as I go. So, and I'm also looking for resources like with Oregon Health Plan, mental health, mental health detox. There's all that is like together. And I've been reaching out to and met a lot of wonderful people too. And but the more resources I have, the better I can be to help serve someone else and better them and make their caseload lighter. So if you know someone, just shoot them my way, and we can so get together and and have a cup of coffee or something and discuss things about each other's program where we can come together and partner it up. Because there's a lot of people out here that needs our help, and the more help I know, the more help I can give.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, LaFonda. Tia, thank you for inviting LaFonda to come and speak on this very important topic related to the women that her organization works with, Women First. And certainly, LaFonda, you definitely are such a great representative of that organization. I think it was said already, and I wanted just to underscore that. Thank you so much for all that you do. It looks like we can probably, Dory, transition into a quick break and then come back for the contact survey recommendation. Is that okay? Okay, great. Well, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, everyone. We'll be back in a little bit.
I do want to acknowledge Pastor
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So we are now in the second half of our meeting, and we are going to revisit PCCEP's contact survey recommendation draft. PCCEP's been discussing this topic for a long time, since kind of, I think, early spring. We've had multiple guest speakers on the subject and a fair amount of community input. And so we are kind of working towards finalizing this recommendation draft and potentially holding a vote in one of our next meetings to send this along to Mayor Wheeler and the new chief of PPB, Chief Day, as of today. So Ashley, I will hand this section over to you and tell me how you want me to support.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful. I know we've done this in the past, and is just to read the recommendation out loud, just to kind of make it accessible. So if you don't mind pulling it up, I could do that. And just read it, and then maybe start the discussion from there. If that sounds okay to everybody. Not to like go through and edit, but just read, and that way.
Sure. And while I do that, Ashley, find it to share, do you want to give just a really brief overview of what a contact survey is for anyone who's new?
Sure. Yeah. So I meant to bring up the technical report to put it in the.
Or I can.
If you don't mind doing that, I think that's a good resource. So
Sure.
Our previous COCL had the Office of Rosenbaum had written a technical report about the use of contact surveys, and essentially it's like the way that I've interpreted it. So this is my interpretation rather than maybe the actual overview, but it's kind of like a customer survey feedback form. There obviously there's no discussion on the details of how it would work out, but like essentially it's saying it's allowing kind of like to break that down, that barrier, that gap between kind of the unknown of like what someone's experience is when dealing with police officers, so particular PBB. And that way, taking that data, we can use that data to inform training, messaging, sort of community relations. That's kind of the overall goal of it. Like Dory said, there's been other advisory groups, like TAC has written their own recommendation for a similar recommendation. Like you said, COCL, the previous COCL had created a really thorough technical report, which I advise everybody to kind of refer to in terms of understanding not really the like the mechanics of it, but like what it could do to help police and community relations. Again, just kind of adding some more data that's not actually available at the moment. And so, how are people feeling when they have in contact with police officers?
Yeah, so at a really high level, a contact survey is like anytime you as an individual would come into contact, that's the contact, with a police officer, you would then be sent or given a survey about basically your customer service experience with that officer. That's the really high level of what a contact survey is. It's very literal. When you have contact, you have the chance to take a survey. It sounds very basic, but the idea is to give the community an opportunity to channel direct feedback about their experience with individual police officers. You may have a great experience with a police officer who helps you maybe recover some stolen property or some sort of public safety situation, and you could report that on and their supervisor would see it and that kind of thing, just like in a restaurant or a store or something. By the same token, if you have a bad experience and you might feel like historically there hasn't been a place where you can kind of report that bad experience, this would be an opportunity to to do that. So, I'll read the draft here, just the body to start, and it's pretty short. And then we can talk about any revisions that need to be made and any additional input from community. Okay.
You okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Ashley. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I just
No, I would really prefer not to.
I thought so. I figured. Cool. Yeah. So, Portlanders want a police bureau that minimizes use of force, effectively de-escalates to situations, and treats everyone with respect and dignity, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender expression, or mental health status. PBB trains officers on de-escalation and procedural justice, yet racial disparities in stops and use of force persist. Without feedback from members of the public, the City of Portland does not have the information it needs to understand the source of the problem, identify officers who need early intervention to improve outcomes, or evaluate the effectiveness of existing procedural justice and de-escalation training. Customer feedback surveys are commonly used by organizations. We call on the City of Portland to prioritize the quality of service provided by PPB's officers and take a data-driven approach that values the direct lived experiences of Portlanders. PCCEP recommends that the City of Portland implement a survey program that gives Portlanders who interact with police an opportunity to share their feedback. Further, we recommend the data collected by this program be shared with the Portland Police Bureau and used to improve policies and training. We recommend that the survey program be administratively independent from the Portland Police Bureau to ensure it's impartial and fosters trust from the community. Yeah, and I just a note that Nathan was the one who had drafted this. Definitely want to give them credit. This is a really great draft. Breakdown.
Yeah, this isn't a we've already incorporated some feedback and some discussion. So this is like draft stage 3, I would say, just so people are aware. And do we want to go on and read these portions or just discuss the body to start?
Can I just ask something?
Yes.
That's all awesome, but I think that the police officer needs to take a culture class. They need to understand the different cultures too, and how people are, far as culturally, because I know me as a Black woman, I speak loudly, and some of us might have bitch faces. Some of us might, it's just the tone of our voice echoes, and they take it as offensively, and that changes their personality because they think that the person is having a problem, trying to give or make a problem for them when they're not. They're explaining their case, or they're trying to communicate. That's how they communicate. So I think officers need to, yes, be sensitive, but also understand culturally how people are.
Thank you, LaFonda. Ashley?
Yeah, I just wanted to you respond to you, LaFonda. I think this is a great recommendation, but I do have some concerns that we're skipping a step here. And, I think, and I've expressed this in sort of different ways to different members that getting this feedback, I feel like this is an opportunity. This is another example of the public having to go to reach out to the PPB versus them reaching out to us. And I say that as us as a community member. And, we're not, I don't know. There's something feels a little off. There feels like a step that's off, but I have been thinking about this lately. And I just wanted to sort of remark that, this could be an avenue towards more of developing what that bridge looks like more. And so what they don't know, right? Like what we don't know. And so, again, I do think this is another space where we're adding more trauma to community members who are dealing with police, depending on their interaction. It's very different for all of us, especially when you have different skin, like you said, all those kind of things. And so I just, yeah, I just wanted to note that and just, express that I hear what you're saying, LaFonda. I think it's something it's been in the back of my mind and something I've vocalized, and definitely wanted to express that today. Yeah. Pastor Weisner, look at have your hand up.
Yeah, I was trying to thank you very much, both on LaFonda and your observation of the one step, looking at that. Just for me to get a contact point where that I can see what's being said as the step, and hearing it from LaShonda as well. Could I ask the question, are you saying when officers, I know what we're talking about with contact surveys, but your statement of impacting and causing more harm upon the impact of fear when they're being detained, are you saying that at that point there might be a different time of where that officers respond to that customer or to that survey point would be asked of, or I'm not sure exactly, because we used to, back in the day, automatically, we fought very hard for them to give their cards at the end of in the contact. And so I'm trying to get a feel of where what that looks like when you're saying, putting more on. Could you explain to me? I don't even know if I'm asking the right question to be asking the question correctly.
Pastor Weisner, are you asking the question around the survey? Once a person has contact with a police officer in whatever scenario, how does that person get that survey, right? Is that your question? Or at what point do they get that survey, or how would they get that survey if there's if you don't know who the police officer is and there wasn't that interaction, their contact information? Is that your question somewhat?
I was trying to follow up on Ashley's thought in the step that was missing.
Okay.
So the step that's missing, are you saying when that contact survey is to be presented? And I used only the example because, again, I know what happens when people are interacting right then, especially people of color are interacting with the officer at that stop. What's hesitant and what's, the urgency. I just need to get out of here. I don't want to be detained. I don't want to, be talking about no survey or is that the piece you're saying that's missing somewhat, Ash?
No, I think I was kind of catching on to what LaFonda was saying about that cultural shift within the PPB, within the bureau. So that culture shift in terms of things we've talked about, profiling, stops and traffic stop. I just like that perception at the moment. And again, this could be very biased from my own biased feelings of that there's still this healing and transformation that needs to happen with the community and the bureau. And we might be getting there, but there's just, I've heard it in this space that there's distrust. And so that's the step. And I think, what I was also trying to say is that I think we can do, we can do it at the same time, and more data gives us more substance to bring forth other recommendations that could change, bringing back that healing and transformation recommendation that, that could help us bubble that back up. So I just wanted to say, I heard what LaFonda was saying, that culture shift still needs to be there. And I was just saying, I do feel like this is another opportunity for the community to have to go out to the police, when I think we still need to be building how the police come to the community. But right, it's all has to be done at the same time, sort of. So
I get now what you're saying. I see what you're saying now. Okay, I was just trying to navigate to where your point was to hear that. Okay.
Thank you.
Looks like Pastor Hennessy has something on the say.
Michael.
So you guys, Pastor, I heard Pastor Hennessy.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, a couple of questions is how often does these recommendations that has been created will be going to the Portland Police? That's one question. Two is I hear about data, collecting data, which is most important in the healing of the community in Portland PPD or PPB. This number two is that is the most important piece. So that's why I'm asking about how often it is, because as I read this, and this went out to the community, it would have a backlash for real. It would have such a disrespect to the community that it would give you a perception of, okay, well, give you an example. Well, that piece of data won't help us none because our men are still getting shot in the back because they remember the last traumas that have happened in the community, such as when a young man got shot with real bullets instead of fake bullets, where there was incidents where PPB was supposed to change its training policies, but nobody knows if they've changed them at all from, I would say, from 19 or 2000, 2000, when we had incidents back there where innocent people were shot. They didn't have a weapon, but yet they were justified because the officers thought they were in threat. And so, this piece is a 1% of the bigger piece. And so I would think there would be a little bit more added to how you collect this data that you're asking for, within terms to where it really has some substance to it that can have an immediate impact instead of a kind of 3 years down the line kind of impact. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael, if you don't mind, I can answer that first part of the question. So part of PCCEP's direction as part of the settlement that the city has, that the DOJ has with the city for the PPB's use of excessive force, which was settled back in 2014. So PCCEP's role is to, be that arm to engaging the community with what's going on at the settlement and other things related to policing and the connection to the community. So one of the big pieces of influence that PCCEP does have is writing these recommendations that go to the police commissioner, which is also our mayor, and the police chief. And the mayor, police commissioner is required to get back to us within 60 days. So it's kind of as an advisory committee, we actually have probably the strongest arm of all of them because, there has to be a response from the mayor. So it has to be this dialogue like, hey, we took this recommendation, we created this recommendation based on something going on in the community with policing. And this is what this is why we do a lot of due diligence around talking about a recommendation, with bringing it to the community so people can hear about it and make sure that we're hearing right and we're forming it correctly so that we can take it to the mayor. So I just wanted to answer and so in terms of, I think we've only done 2 recommendations in the time that I've been here, which is about a little over a year. So they're few and far between because it really, it does take us time to create one and cultivate one based on this community connection, having these forums. We want to get out into the community. PCCEP wants to get out in the community more, for instance, I think if Dory had kind of mentioned it earlier about the stops data, and just kind of strategizing how do we get that information out to the community a bit more so that we can hear and maybe formulate some recommendation around the stops data. So I don't know if that answers your question. And then the second part about data, I think that's kind of the direction we've heard from this technical report, which I'll find the link for and send it over on the chat. So because it's like I was mentioning, it's a report about why this contact survey would be a smart way to go to collect this sort of data that could help inform further interactions between police and community. So I don't know if that answered your question or if anybody else has other thoughts.
I did want to make a quick comment about sort of the nature of PCCEP's recommendations and engaging in policy work in general. I'm trying to understand some of the conversation happening, and I think we are expressing concerns or frustrations about different areas related to policing in Portland. I think the nature of the policy work that PCCEP is engaging with, and certainly with the content here, it's not possible to address all of those things, or even more than one, maybe, at a time. So this is not intending to maybe address some of these larger themes of culture, or the data about other areas, but it does have a very specific purpose. And I do want to make sure we're clearly communicating about that, both in the language and in the language of the recommendation, and how we're communicating about it in this meeting. Because we are only trying to tackle one thing here, and it is contact surveys for PPB, independent of PPB. Is that something PCCEP wants to pass a recommendation about? The committee has decided it is. And so we want to make sure the language reflects the views of the group.
Go ahead, Ashley, and then Michael. It looks like your hand's still up.
Yeah, so I just had a sort of a different comment. Dory, will you scroll up to the beginning part of this recommendation? Or maybe there was, I wanted to just point out the word demand. I can't remember where I saw it. Is it in this first? Maybe it's changed.
It is changed, yeah.
Okay, good. Because so it looks like I was looking at the wrong. Okay. I thought they were the same ones. Okay, good. Because I wanted to just note, like, yeah, great. That's already probably been addressed, so I won't even go into it. But my other question was, Pastor Weisner, maybe you can add some light here in terms of the conversations we've been having with the mayor, right, and doing those quarterly updates. And the last time we met with them about when we send a recommendation through, how we're collaborating on that before we get to a yes or no from the mayor. And I just was curious if there's been any conversations around how that's being communicated or discussed with the mayor's office, so that again, that's something I've said before about this recommendation. Particularly, I feel like there's a lot of extra layers that will have to be considered like, I don't know, budget and operations to get something like this up and going, to make it practical, to make it something like, yep, this makes sense. So, like, if the mayor goes and says this is a great idea, right, like, then is that just it? And then what? And then what happens? And so how are we working with the mayor's office to sort of talk about those like implementation details? And sure, they might say we don't want to, he's not going to accept a recommendation, or however that goes, but is there a line of communication with him right now about this being kind of our next recommendation to come up to him?
Good question. And Dory, you might fill in where I'm back out. The sentiments that Celeste and I have been hearing is it's a welcome from our group. And he does, in my thought, is welcome and wanting to hear more from what it is that we can come into partnership with and engage where his office is able to be engaged from our recommendations. I have not got a sense that it's just thrown on a block somewhere, sort of say, but it is taken to a very serious point of where that he reviews and understands that with his vision, where this particular group has came from HIDUS, is very excited to see what's going forward. Would you say that, Dory?
Yeah, I think, Ashley, I'm glad you're asking that question, because as you all know, as members know, the mayor has committed to, after PCCEP approves the recommendation, has committed to having a sit down with leadership to talk through these recommendations, address any sticking points, any challenges, that kind of thing. But Ashley, I think, and this should be on the mayor's office radar, yes. But I think that in reality, this particular recommendation might be a really good opportunity to kind of see how that process plays out and to kind of forge a path in terms of how PCCEP can be and wants to be involved in potential implementation of something. Because this will kind of be like our first try with this formulation of PCCEP and with this commitment from the mayor. So that's what I would say.
Michael, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as I read it, what part of data is PCCEP using to come forward with the recommendation that they're coming forward with? Because when I read PPB trains officers on de-escalation and procedure adjuster and yet racial disparities, again, I still look at, are you applying from data of past escalations and training that the officers have been given over the last 10 years? Has it changed in any kind of way? Because that's the important piece, is the training of these officers. So when we ask for surveys or anything, what data is PCCEP using to get to the formula that they have now? And two is, has the training changed in the last 10 to 20 years? Because you can't, if the training hasn't changed in the last 20 years, basically you just got ink on paper, and the problem is going to continue to consist. Thank you.
Yes, I have noted that we should put a citation in there about this sentence, as you pointed out. That's a great comment. Thank you.
Dory, maybe another clarification might be helpful for the audience. So we're talking about a survey. Who puts those questions together? Maybe that's another comment that can be, or a question that can be responded to, just so that the audience knows how that's developed.
So would that be like including the reference to the technical report? Is that what you're saying?
The survey itself, I mean, what specific information, when you develop a survey, you're looking for specific information. So how are those questions going to get you to get the data and information from the public to help you determine that, see, these surveys indicate that we need to have, cultural competency training, as LaFonda mentioned, that these other types of trainings that don't currently exist that need to be added, and whether they are actually, at this point of the officers who work for Portland, or is it, at what point is it, do all of them get that training? Or is it newbies who get that training? So that's the questions in the survey determine the type of responses you're actually going to get.
Yeah, and I would say that part is like probably the part we can't really specify in this recommendation, because that's the part I think it needs the collaboration with the commissioner and the mayor, and we need expertise about that. That's not, and we, with community input. And I think, that's the piece PCCEP could play. And if we had those discussions with the mayor, like we're getting technical reports or data, or to inform what the survey could look like. But then, we're using PCCEP could be that arm that helps get the community input, so that we're making sure we're, the survey is answering the right questions. So I hear what you're saying, but I just wanted to know. I mean, I feel like that's like, I don't know. Maybe we could add it, but it might just, and I don't know if it's stuff we have,
a little more context. I think as a committee, PCCEP is learning about the recommendation process, but not only the recommendation process, but the political process. I think that's kind of what Ashley's speaking to. And something I think PCCEP has learned from their last two recommendations, both of which were successful, on the whole, is that sometimes less detail and less specificity actually it works better. As long as so PCCEP, I think the important thing is to capture sort of the spirit of the idea. So I think that spirit is captured in my mind by asserting that it is independently administrated, which would suggest that the survey is independently created, like outside of the Portland Police Bureau, but by, you know, whatever staff work on it. But as far as getting into the details of the administration, PCCEP could choose to do that or not.
Well, would this recommendation be a place to say something like PCCEP looks forward to working with, you know, if this got, recommendation was, you know, this was a program that was prioritized, the PCCEP looks forward to being, you know, to helping with implementation, or and I don't know if that's like too much. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, I know we've talked about the story, like less does feel more with these recommendations sometimes. Because then I think it opens that arm or that door as we're trying to, you know, we're trying to cultivate that relationship with the mayor, you know, office and the chief, like opening that door, like, yeah, here's the spirit, here's what we've heard, here's what we've learned. You know, this collaborative spirit, well, what we don't know and how we bring in PPB, you know, yeah, I'm talking a little bit too much, so I'll just stop, but
No, you're not.
thank you, Master.
You're doing good. Excellent conversation.
Dr. Elizabeth Allen, did you want to expand on your comment?
I think that the fellow I'm talking about, the one from an eastern city, was that a compliance officer? I didn't hold on to the technical words, but he talked to us at length about the kind of surveys and also about the kind of training that ought to be happening. And the police leaders, particularly the assistant chiefs and the chief, told him, that kind of training would be nice to have. It's just too low priority. We can't fit it in. And he told us that he tried to persuade them that it shouldn't be thought of as low priority. It should be thought of as more important than most of the training they're already getting. So they have a way of sort of stepping around the idea of the kind of trainings that lead to good relationships with the people aren't important.
Thank you for that comment, Dr. Allen. We have Barbara, her hands raised. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara, Portland Cop Watch. I wanted to get back to Michael's comment that a lot of people who just have had an interaction with the police, they don't really want a survey, they just want to get away, go home and all that. And what I'm concerned about is that could really skew the data, because you're probably gonna more likely hear, oh yeah, I got my car back, or the officer was really polite to me, whereas, you know, somebody who was being racially profiled or was really scared of the police would just want to leave. So how would you prevent the data from getting skewed? Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Any comments on that?
That's a really, really good question. Thank you for bringing that up, Barbara. Oh, looks like, okay, yeah. Lori.
Well, how you prevent that is you have the community, you get the people that's on this, right? Like people like us that are being affected by what the officers do. have the data and be in control of the data and the outcome of the data. That's how you do that. Because if you release it to them and they have it, they're going to do what they want to do with it. And we're going to see what they put together and present to us.
So I'm hearing two things. From Barbara's comment, maybe the importance of making sure that this prospective survey wouldn't need to be done in person or in real time with an officer. So it could be a link to your phone that you can do on your own time, something like that. And then from Lori's comment, I'm hearing the importance of making sure, if you guys could hear that, making sure that the impacted communities are involved in the administration of the program, and that there's transparency around how the program works too with the data.
And is there a section in there where the community can be surveyed?
Yes, that is the key element, definitely.
And so when you have that right there, that's going to be a problem, because this community is not going to be surveyed by certain groups and police, not the community we got to reach when we're talking about the people that are being affected by this. This is African American and our Hispanic brothers and sisters. So there's a certain way that you got to go to get the real information. If you come with law enforcement or anything like that, and you don't bring it to them just right, you ain't gonna get the information. I actually did survey, work for Pastor Hardy, and I created this program called the HIAC, and we did a 12-sector coalition around African Americans that underage drinking. And I seen how a 12-sector coalition working, we had to do like a meet and greet. So what you can do is you get them, you're gonna have to have money to do this when you pull people out. So you do like a meet and greet, like throw a big event, and you invite the community there, but you have us, people like us that live this life, not y'all's face. You put people like us, like Pearlia Bills and people like us that got, like I got a podcast, she got a TV show. You get us out there and get the people and get them, invite them in to like a swing thing, whatever we're gonna put on. Then we survey them while they're there. Then you take that survey and you that information and you have it analyzed. And what was so powerful about that is when it came back and it was analyzed, it showed us exactly what we needed to focus on. And the data's right there. It goes straight to the person that analyzes and it comes straight back to you. I can show you just how it works. I'm doing that with my coalition right now that I'm starting. And so that's how you're going to do it, where you take, see, because what's happening, listen here. I wasn't even gonna get on this call because I kind of like remove myself from these tables, because I have been doing this for 8 years off of the seed in the ground. I got a son, and it's just like I'm done having meetings, and the system is broke, and the system's not willing to bend. As far as I'm concerned, what I'm saying at the table is power on power. We sitting back here, like we have no power. We have a brain. We know how to do things too. And it's like we're not being utilized like everybody else. Think they're more smarter than everybody else because they got the programs and they got the money. But I tell you what, it's a new day coming to Portland, Oregon, and Gresham, because people are tired of that. And I'm not the only one. And you guys are going to have to share the power. We're going to all have to do this together. If we're going to do anything and change anything, we first have to come with love and respect. And we're going to have to do this together. And in order to reach our community, you have to have people with lived experience doing this work and pulling our people to really get what we need. And we have to have data. Every event you give, you should be doing a survey. Are you wasting money?
I think, Lori, thank you for joining, because she is a great community person who is on boots on the grounds with live experience, as she says, even with her live broadcast, going to places, dealing with what she has expressed. She knows me very well. To kind of point reference, the power to say, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the settlement agreement with the DOJ. And I think, Ashley, if you can kind of tag where you were earlier about how our recommendations and the place that you presented earlier to those who are just now joining kind of helps understand this, or Dory, this process where we're at right now, trying to shoot this as, it's not light. It is a strong recommendation and working document.
And then we'll go to Byron once we have that brief explanation. Go ahead.
Sure thing. Yeah. Yeah, Lori, thank you so much for being here for sure. Really appreciate your voice. Really appreciate you being here and your time. I don't know if you heard someone had asked kind of a similar question, and I just kind of broke down what PCCEP's influence is, which is as an advisory committee, and being connected to the settlement agreement that the DOJ has with the city of Portland, because of the city of Portland's police bureau's excessive force against our community. That settlement's been around since 2014. So PCCEP is part of the settlement in terms of trying to connect the community to what's going on with that settlement, in addition to other PPB's policies. And so these recommendations are part of that, the directive of the DOJ that the mayor particularly, so the recommendations go to the mayor, who's also the police commissioner, and then the chief of police. And so so there's that piece. So our influence there is that we can make this recommendation, which we cultivate through feedback from community, having forums like this. I totally agree. We need more surveys, we need more access to people giving us information. And so those are things we are trying to work on here at PCCEP, so that they can help inform these recommendations. And then when they go to the mayor's office, they're obligated to respond to us, to PCCEP, in 60 days. And so that's kind of the strong arm that our PCCEP as advisory committee has compared to other advisory committees. And so we're trying to use that, where we can. And then also to note, like in terms of this recommendation, there's so much missing for sure about how this would work right, how impacted voices would have a say and authority over the accountability piece of this. And I think I just want to reiterate that, that's where, something we're trying to do with our recommendation process is really make it a collaborative process with the mayor, the commissioner, and the chief of police. And we've started those dialogues already, because if we just, what does this recommendation mean? We want to have further conversations with the mayor's office about, those specifics about implementation, and where PCCEP could play with being an arm with the community, or being a place where the community is heard. So I think, very excited to I have my apprehensions about the contact survey. I think there definitely needs to be a lot more thought into it, but this is PCCEP saying this could be a start. This recommendation is saying this is a start to that broader conversation of how police and community interact with each other. So it's like super high level, super more trying to explain the spirit of what the contact survey could do, again, based on this technical report that was presented to us through another organization that is involved with the settlement. And so, I think, hopefully as community members, you don't see this as like the one and done piece. There's absolutely more to this. And like Dory mentioned, and I agree for sure that this could be the recommendation where we practice that process of collaboration and really getting, really digging into how PCCEP and the mayor's office and the bureau can work together to make sure the community is not only informed, but also involved in the process. And it's really a thought out process that's community driven. So
I got a question. Is
Yeah.
this a part of when Pastor Allen started back in the day at his church before it burned down?
No.
So will we go the organization that's involved with this? You said it's
Dory? Dory?
Oh man, well there are countless, really. Actually, I think I was referring to one that is more on the technical side. They work with the Department of Justice settlement agreement. They're called the COCL. But PCCEP is involved with so many different organizations around the city and the community.
Can I ask you this one question? Whose table is this? Who is this out of the governor's or mayor's office? Whose table is this?
Yeah, so PCCEP is a city committee. We do advise the mayor and the chief of police But we were created by the settlement agreement with the DOJ, and as a result of that, PCCEP is independent from those bodies. So while we're authorized to report to the mayor, as in write recommendations saying we think this, or to the chief of police saying we think you should do that, we don't report to them in the sense that they tell us what to do. Does that make sense? I know it's confusing.
It's confusing, Lori, but so yes.
Paying
And
for it, like you can say what you want to. At the end of the day, they paying for it. So that's confusing.
No.
Very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Byron.
Okay.
Lori, thank you so much for your comments and welcome. We do have Byron who's been waiting, has had his hand up. Go ahead, Byron.
Yeah, they were talking about how to collect data, and I just wanted to piggyback on something that I haven't heard or might have not been said. Was we can speak to people who've been arrested that are people of color. I don't know if we can get arrest records or a printout of by culturally specifically who's been arrested and look through that. I mean, we can go through the city, we can go to JDH, especially kids that are like 18 and under, because I'm pretty sure they have a lot of stories to tell us about them being harassed by the police just by hanging out. I don't know if we can get the type of information from that, Dory. It's just a question I was thinking about to get data. And then when we get that data, we reach out to those people on that list. And if they are 18 and under, we bring their parents in and we can start giving out surveys in that sense, or we can mail those surveys to those people of color that have been arrested. Far as crime wise, I don't think there should be I think that should just be an open end thing. It doesn't matter. Just if they were arrested and they're African American, Black, Asian, and I want to say we can start bringing data from there.
Thank you, Byron. Other comments, questions?
Do they have where like an officer pull over a certain race and like African Americans, do they count how many are pulled over? Do they have that in place yet? I know they were talking about that.
Yes.
Okay.
You should come to the PCCEP meeting on the 25th, because it will be only about that data.
Okay, so one thing is, like officers get written up a lot. Officers that get written up a lot that's up under, like you can piece it with the African Americans and just people like Hispanic people that they do bother a lot. And then you can look at those officers' files, pull their files and look at their files and see. Like I got an officer right now. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pull his file because I'm quite sure the way you treat me, I can go down there and look in your file and you treat everybody else like that, people that take time to write you up. So you can also start by doing that as well. The complaint officers, people, the high complaint officers, and you can look in their records. So that's another way to pull some data.
Thank you, Lori. So I'm looking at the chat. Barb, did you want to expand on your comment? I'll just read what she said. Says, I would like to repeat my suggestion that PCCEP hosts an event with a new civilian training dean once she is looking for community feedback and or has some short and long-term planning for the training division. I do not know where she stands on the contact survey development issue.
Yeah, it's a good one. I wrote that down. I think that could be a community engagement meeting agenda item for sure. I think T and I have definitely talked about that again. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, is it an appropriate time to reach out now? Because they have been new. Dorothy, I don't know if you have any insight into that, but yeah, that's definitely on our radar for a future event.
Yep, we can do that anytime. Yeah. I had a follow-up question about some of the discussion happening. We've been talking a lot about data, and I wanted to ask for some clarity around that theme of the discussion. Did that come out of the discussion on the recommendation? Was there a feeling that there was a need for more data in this? Or I think I'm just trying to understand the discussion better.
That was a great question.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, basically that did come out of the body of recommendation as I read it. And I had to think to myself saying, okay, well, PCCEP is offering, this recommendation, but then I want to know, well, where did PCCEP get the idea, or had they even checked the data from the past 20 years of, okay, well, the community is still healing from 20 years of police murders. And so I just wanted to know where the data came from to come to this point, because when I read this point, as we were discussing, you see there's such a broader capacity to this that gives it more substance. And I was looking for more substance because, there's the high profiling, there's the African Black and Brown who might not take the survey, so they're not going to be represented well. And then the folks that do take the survey, what portion of the community is it representing, and so forth, and to make it be more accurate and more transparent. And so when you looking for data, you also got to use data in such a way to get where you really want to make an impact. And that's why I asked, how many times do you make the recommendation? Because if you only use a certain amount of data to get to this point, then it might change later when you have the upcoming to hear from the community as far as what that would look like filling out a survey on the police. And and like one first person I heard said is, how is it going to be independent? How is the independency is going to be set up to where the police is not in control of the surveys, and how transparent is it going to be? So that's where that question came up about data.
Thank you, Michael. Dory, do you want to respond? Or, I mean, definitely I see Dory taking notes, Michael, and the committee is certainly going to be discussing your questions and suggestions. Byron?
If it was possible, if we could start with 10 people and then we can use those 10 people to tell 10 other people, because I'm pretty sure they would know somebody or some family member who has went through some type of trauma with the PPB. And they also got to understand, and I don't want to speak in like for certain. You have to understand we're dealing with people who have emotions and feelings and understand in the history of not liking us. They never did like us. They never wanted us here. Still don't want us here. Do everything they can to disrupt us, change us, make us who we're not. So I mean, my best guess would be if there would be a starting point, we can get 10 people and then use those 10 people to get 10 more people, even 5, use 5 people. And it's not something you necessarily have to do, just a suggestion.
Thank you, Byron. Michael, did you have another comment? I see your hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to put my hand down.
Okay.
Thank
I see
you.
Lori. Lori, were you saying I support that, or did you have your hand up?
I was telling Brian, I was saying right on, brother. Brian, you say that was good.
Thank you, Lori. So we are at 7:52 now, and typically, we're transitioning into the open public comment period, which means that any other information, or if you want to make a comment about the topic we're just discussing, this is that time. And so we'll give some space for the public to share information, make a comment. And so I want to open it up to the floor. Well, I want to thank everybody. While you're thinking about a comment or a question or something you want to share, I just want to thank everybody's contribution to the dialogue and conversations that we've discussed today. It's very rich and really good perspectives. Thank you for having the courage to share your thoughts, concerns, and challenging, what's going on. Let me look at our comments to see if there's anything else that I have missed.
Well, while you're looking at that, I'll go ahead and take the opportunity to say something. I had put my email in the chat, so my email is available in the chat. If you want to take my phone number, I can give you that too right now. And I feel, like I said, I'm grateful to be part of sitting in on this. And thank you, Lori, for inviting me. And this has been very insightful and very needed because, as you said, you guys are kind of beginning. But the great thing about it is you can reach very in depth with the issues and recommendations that can really impact the community in such a way that's been needed for so long. And I think this is a perfect time to bring change within our police department and other agencies that's connected with the police department. And then the community also coming together. When I hear Brian speak of the 10 to go 10, to go tell 10, which is great. And if there's a lot of organizations that work with folks that are low income that have police contact, because they're out there, they're struggling, they're making ends meet, and so there's a lot of impact and a lot of contact, whether it's domestic violence or robbery or burglary or assault or intimidation, you name it. Homeless folks sleeping in your yard or in your driveway, on your porch. I mean, there's a lot of contact going on with the low income community that's out there. And I'm not leaving out the other communities that financial, wherever they at, but I just know for a fact, living next to a busy main highway, I hear the police go by a lot of times from morning to night, and I see it. I haven't really got back on boots on the ground yet because I'm still working with connecting the different organizations and seeing who's doing what and how and how to proceed for myself. But I really believe that seeing this and hearing this and participating, this is a great space to be in. And so I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to be part of it, and look forward to some more interviews and connections with you guys, and thumbs up.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you being here and for your comments. And it was brought to my attention that Reverend Hennessy might have some thoughts or want to expand on some of his comments in the chat. So I'm giving you the floor here, Reverend, if you want to say any words, and then we'll go to Dorian and Ashley.
No, I'm grateful to be here tonight. It's always good to be able to come into meetings like this and not necessarily have anything more. I did put some things in the chat. I think what I'm really supportive of is the importance of the methodology of how the survey work happens. in our community, it's not always about putting something on paper or mailing something to somebody. It's really setting up the forum so people can speak. And that's the only other thing I would say, but I'm grateful and support many of the comments that have been made tonight. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate
Would
your
you be willing to do some surveys at your church? And that's another thing that's missing out. A lot of families that are in these churches, and we can't get to them. I think the pastors should be involved. That'd be a great thing for you to get the pastors involved, where we can even survey some of their congregation. They can pick out people that they can survey.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Lori. I agree.
There go your 10 right there.
Great suggestions. Dory and then Ashley, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as we're wrapping up, it was a real pleasure to have so many new faces in this meeting. Even if we've met before, to have you here participating in a meeting was really amazing, and it's always so good to have the fresh eyes and the energy and the ideas. It's very clear to me that, and so I really hope you come back, number one. But number two, it's really clear that I think everyone here is doing a lot of work out in the community. And so for those new to PCCEP, you saw today a recommendation that's a little further along in the process. But PCCEP, I think our goal is to be writing more of these recommendations. And the way we source these ideas is from community input. So if you have, we discussed lots of different things tonight. If there are specific things that you see impacting the communities you work with, or an experience you had, or something like that, that you want to be reflected in policy, I really encourage you to reach out to PCCEP, and our members then can decide if that's something that fits into our scope of work, if it's a draft they want to develop, and then go through this process. So I just wanted to let you know that's where the ideas come from. And I have no doubt that all of you probably have some ideas for things we could work on.
Thanks, Dory. Ashley.
Yeah, just really quickly, to help us wrap up. I've been a member of PCCEP a little over a year now, and I just wanted to note, and I think Dory was touching on this. Sometimes it feels like, and I know all the amazing work you all do. You can relate to the feeling of like, this is a giant boulder, and we're all like, we're trying to get as many people to help us push it. And it's spaces like this that really do inspire us as the committee. This is the work, is creating forums for community members to have a say, have an ear, collaborate on issues of policing here in our city. So it's like, sometimes we don't, sometimes I feel like as a PCCEP member, I'm not doing anything. And then I remember how important these meetings are, just to be in a space to collaborate, hear, listen to other perspectives. That's how we're going to change the world, is learning and being in community with other perspectives. And so I'm just really proud of the work that PCCEP does. And I hope you guys all, were able to enjoy the space as well. It sounds like you are. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Then we go to the very last slide, just to thank everybody. What's next? Upcoming. Go to the next slide, please. Dory, do you want to do this one? Or you want me to go ahead?
Oh no, I don't need it. Yeah, you go right ahead.
All right. Thank you to PCCEP members of the public, and accessibility support, interpretation, captioning, etc., for your contributions today. You're incredibly invaluable in these meetings. To learn more about PCCEP, you can go to the website and click on that link. And community members can give written public comments in advance of future PCCEP meetings if you want to share. And if you want to sign up to be part of email listserv, you can do that on this last link. Thank you again, everybody, for being here today. You made this meeting incredibly fruitful, and there is so much more work to do, but I invite all of you again for next Wednesday when we meet at 6 o'clock. Have a good evening, everyone.
Teresa, how
Thank you,
can
Teresa.
members join? How can they join? How can they join?
So, we do have at least one spot open on PCCEP currently, I should mention. If you're interested in applying, you can find an application at our website, and we could also probably link it right now. Yeah, I very much encourage everyone to apply. Yeah, and come back for our Wednesday night meetings. We're here most Wednesday evenings.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Recording.